Okay, I'm going to show you how to take your foot shell off of your foot and clean your foot shell and clean your foot, clean the Spectre sock, and then put your foot shell back onto your prosthesis. It's relatively easy, but you do need to have a few tools, or at least a shoehorn. You can use a small shoehorn like this. These are easy to find. Prosthetists and orthotists use a shoehorn that's shaped like this. It has a little lip on it which allows you to grab a hold of the actual foot itself once you stick it in there and then easily pry it off. But any shoehorn would work. A better shoehorn that you could find at a store would be something shaped like this. It's not going to bend or be flimsy like these smaller ones. You can see that this one is actually two shoehorns riveted together to get strength because it was just getting bent. So we'll start with the rush foot. You need to take your shoe off when you're taking your foot shell off. Set that just to the side and take your sock off. Okay, so mine's pretty clean. I just cleaned mine recently, but I'll go ahead and show you how it's done on the rush foot. I'll show you with the basic one. You can actually take the foot shell off without tools if you have good strength in your hands. See, that one actually pops off pretty easy. The rush foot is probably the easiest foot shell to remove. So I got a little bit of dirt in mine. Just from a couple of days worth of walking around, I already have some debris in my foot shell. So it's always a good thing to take this off as often as you can if you go swimming or if you mow the yard. That's where this came from, probably from mowing. But then you'd want to take your foot shell off, or your sock off, and clean this thing out. You never know what you're going to find in a foot shell. Mulch. I don't even have that color of mulch in my yard. Alright, so you can take a rag and clean your foot shell. If your foot shell has black cruddy stains in it that looks like grease, you can take a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and dab it and then clean it like that. I wouldn't use anything stronger than that though. You can take hand soap, soft soap, and wash this really good. I like to keep my foot clean, so I do that pretty often. Now the socks are going to take most of the abuse. This thing is not that old, and it looks twice as old as it actually is. So get all the dirt out of that. And then once you have everything clean, it's good to inspect your actual foot and look for any defects or excessive wear. This thing's pretty strong. It's very durable, so there's nothing too worried about on this. I just have a little bit of excessive wear from where I shift gears on my motorcycle. Now on the rush foot, I put the sock on backwards. That way the sock doesn't go all the way up and out of the foot shell like you saw earlier. It looks a lot better that way, and it still protects the foot. So I put mine on like this. I take the sock and slip it underneath the rubber stopper, and then I fold it over the end or the toes of the foot. I cut a square out of the sock so that the rubber stopper can still come into contact with the bottom blade completely and not be disrupted by any fabric or material. Let it get in its way. So I just stick it under there like this, and this will protect the foot from rubbing against the foot shell and wearing one or both out sooner than normal. So once you have that on there, you just stick your foot back in there. Easiest way to do this would be to press on the toes of the foot and then press down somewhere at the back of your leg, and then press it down like this, or you can use the table. Press it down to where you get it all the way in as far as you can, and then press on the heel like that. Now you're going to feel and listen for a clicking sound. There's a rubber stopper inside the foot shell that goes above the bottom blade and in between the bottom of the foot and then the stopper. That's where the blade goes. So you heard that clicking sound. So now the foot shell is on there, pretty sturdy, and your foot is clean.